Welcome to the Beyond the Bucket Show, a podcast centered around optimizing all life's buckets. We all have buckets we are balancing: coaching, entrepreneurial ventures, family, passion projects, and health. Let's all take this journey together and become bucket fillers. And here's your host, Chris McSwain.
Welcome back to Beyond the Buckets. I've got another fantastic guest for us, all the way from Colorado, a man of many different traits and platforms, and just all around good dude. So, Justin Wilson, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, my man. I like the intro.
Yeah, I should have read my notes on your bio, but for those that don't know Justin Wilson, he is a former collegiate basketball coach, former player as well, and now he's doing his entrepreneurial ventures out in Colorado. But before we start and get to all the things that you've done in your life, why don't you tell us a fun fact about yourself, Justin?
Ooh, fun facts. Yeah, it feels like a job interview.
Yeah, it might be. It might be.
Fun facts. Yeah, that's a pretty cool one that I don't think so many people have done.
Say that again. I cut out on my end, but say it again.
Oh, but I've been bobsledding in Austria.
Oh, okay. That is a first on Beyond the Buckets. Bobsledding in Austria. What continent is Austria in?
Well, it's in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what took you there?
Yeah, just when I first got out of coaching, I kind of made a promise to myself that I was going to leave the country at least once every 12 months. And I would just plan a trip and throw it out to a couple of people. And every time somebody jumped on. And so, yeah, was just out there with a good buddy of mine. And we spent about 2 weeks just kind of bouncing around hostels. And yeah, we hit just about everything from Amsterdam to Austria we did New Year's in Prague. It was a great time.
Were you married with kids then or no?
No, absolutely
okay.
not.
I was about to say that sounds like a single guy trip.
That was definitely the single years, yes.
Was that the first, second, or third time that you were done coaching because you kept getting back into it?
That's true. I feel like this is the only time I've really been done, because as soon as I left the first time, you sucked me right back in. I was supposed to take a couple of years off, but yeah, that was as soon as I left Pacific. So I went from I finally made a little bit of decent money and could travel with my free time, so I took advantage.
For sure. So those that don't know, you played at Chico State and coached there, and then you also coached at UOP as well as UC Irvine. Was there any stops that I missed? You coached high school too, I believe, at Westmont.
Yeah.
Did you at Westmont?
Yeah, never the head, just helped out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Did I miss any spots?
Helped out with a couple junior colleges, a couple junior highs. Yeah, pretty much every level at one time or another.
We stumbled into each other at the Final Four in San Antonio. Yep. And right after that, I soon asked you to come work for Top Flight and coach and kind of be a director and run programs and all that sort of stuff. So we'll kind of get into that. But why don't we give like a 3-minute backstory on you? Where'd you grow up? How'd you grow up? And what kind of led you to where you're at right now?
Yeah. Grew up in the Bay, Campbell, California. And just knew, I think I fell in love with basketball around third grade. Spent all day at the school across from my house. Over the summers, I'd get up about 9 a.m. My mom would make me some breakfast that had everything she could throw into some pancakes or some waffles, and I would disappear until midnight and just play ball all day with whoever showed up. And yeah, that was the majority of my childhood. Basketball was just kind of a release and an escape and a way for me to connect with people. And I think it's remained that through most of my life, even out here. Was able to, before we even moved into our house, when we moved to Colorado, we were still living in a hotel. Was able to find a good pickup game on Sundays. That was like priority number one. And I've been with that same group every Sunday since we've been out. It's just a good group of guys, and help each other with business, all that. Like it's just basketball has kind of always been an easy way to connect with people and kind of find fellow travelers, I guess.
Yeah. So after high school, tell me what you did. Did you go directly to Chico State?
Yeah, so graduated Westmont, went to Chico. Not a lot of my friends went on to college, and that was kind of the cheapest one that I could get into. I don't know if kids even have to pay for college applications anymore. You just do it online. But I sent off one, and if Chico didn't accept me, it was going to go off to Humboldt. But fortunately, got accepted out of Chico, and same thing. Just met a really good group of people out there. It was really different from the Bay Area, slower pace a little bit, and um, people was just kind of about connection. I'd never been anywhere where you just kind of have groups of people looking to have fun and still handle their stuff, but just kind of focused on enjoying life. And that really was something that kind of it made me. I'd had the same group of friends since like fifth grade or my freshman year in high school, and when I went out to college, I didn't know anybody. Um, Not even somebody that I knew and didn't like didn't have a single name. And that was a good thing for me. Forced me to open up a little bit and come out of my shell and meet some new people.
Yeah. Well, you've done a great job as far as cultivating relationships. And we met, I think, in 2001. We both had the opportunity to work for the city of Campbell doing the sports as well as basketball camps, and also occasional lunchtime open gym run, where we may or may not have gotten into it. But that was the first time that I met you. And that was the first time that I met Nate. And so from then, we all kind of were cut from the same cloth, even though we grew up in the same area. We didn't know each other at the time, but I think you were finishing up college, so that was going to be your last year. Because I think you graduated 99 high school.
98.
98.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I'm old, man.
you're a few years older than us. But like, we bonded initially and we worked together that whole summer, which was really cool. And then I think you either went back to coaching or started coaching at that time. So once you were done with the sports camps, did you stay up in Chico and go back and coach?
Yeah, got my teaching credential, which is what I thought I was always going to do. Go and teach high school and coach a basketball team somewhere. And was fortunate enough. When I was redshirting at Chico, I got in really close with the coaching staff on the women's side and a lot of those players. And I started my first coaching job was eighth grade girls while I was doing my credential, and I had just finished trying to play at Chico. Um, and somebody had asked me to coach the eighth grade girls team, and I was like, man, that's so below me. I'm a college athlete, like I can't coach eighth grade girls. But it was a
Right.
good friend of mine, and I was like, as a favor to you, I'll do it for 1 year. And I loved it. I was fortunate enough to have a really good group of parents and a really good group of kids that made the season really enjoyable. And I stayed for a second year, and I've been fortunate to coach at a pretty high level and see some success there. And to this day, and to all my TFE teams, don't take offense, but to this day, one of my finest coaching moments was with that second year of that eighth grade girls team. Yeah, just had some amazing moments with that team, and that's kind of when I knew I fell in love with coaching. About after that year, I thought I did move up and help the varsity team at Chico High while I was finishing my credential, and then thought I was going to move back to the Bay and start teaching. And the Chico State women's team was looking for some help, and I jumped on there, and I kind of was at a crossroads where I was trying to decide whether going to teaching or going to coaching. Knew I couldn't do both, and give them both the time and energy that they deserved. And I really kind of sat down and thought about it. And I was like, if I could run a tryout for my history class and bring in like my top 12 kids and work with them all year, maybe teaching would have the same impact. But that's just not how it goes. You're dealing with 300 kids, and it's really hard to build those types of relationships. And so I went with coaching, and yeah, it's taken me on a pretty good path.
For sure. Um, when you were talking about the eighth grade girls team, one of my first coaching opportunities outside of the city of Campbell, the little kids leagues, was they asked a bunch of us, it was the off season, if we wanted to coach a 7th grade girls basketball team up in Oregon. And that was my first time being a head coach, but we were in a small town, and then we'd have to go kind of travel. So we had to travel to Pendleton, Oregon to play this team. And there was this young girl that was killing us, absolutely dogging us. Like, she was one of the coldest things I had ever seen. And I'm like, what is going on here? Come to find out years later, she ended up playing at Louisville. So I think her name was Shoni Schimmel. Is that does that make?
That sounds familiar.
Anyway, she was number 23 for Louisville, probably in the mid 2010s, around that time. And she was a killer. She was a killer, even at age 13. I think she put up 50 of the 55 points that they had. We were the worst team out there. Like, we were horrible. Like, the kids could barely, it was like Bad News Bears type of deal. But I had a lot of fun with it. And then, obviously I continued to coach the Campbell rec camps until I had to get a real job. But then you go right into high school basketball coaching. And I went back to Del Mar and started coaching there. And then from there, Del Mar to Monte Vista to Lee to Valley Christian. And, 20 years later, you look up and it's like, wow, that was a crazy run. Cause I started coaching basketball in 2004. over at Del Mar, and I stayed there for a long time. And then it just goes by so fast. I can't believe it's 20 years later that I've been coaching. And just to see the level of players that we've been able to see too, whether it be high level women's basketball players, which you've seen multiple different levels, whether it be in the club you've seen pros multiple times play against or in the same tournament. So it's just been an awesome experience, and it's been all basketball, and that's been basketball related. And then I think we caught up. What year was that? Maybe it was like 04.
That sounds right.
No, excuse me. Maybe like 08.
Yeah, it was probably, I left.
No, because
around 2010.
No. It had to be like around 2012 then, actually, because Top Flight started in 2010.
2010 on the shirt.
There you go. Hey, I might need to send you a new one because it's looking a little old. But yeah, so it must have been 2012. And then I seen you like randomly. My cousin was playing in the women's Final Four out in San Antonio. I'm just perusing the streets because I had my mom and my aunt, and that was basically it. So I'm just walking up the streets and I see a familiar face, like, what's going on? And you're like, hey man, what's up? He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm at the Final Four. What are you doing? He's like, I'm trying to look for jobs. And I was like, well, maybe, if he wants to. And I think you had just moved back to the area.
Yeah.
At that time. But so I kept that in the back of my mind, and I'm like, I'm gonna hit him when we get back. And so I hit you, and then you came back, and then you ended up going to UC Irvine after that. But then there was another stop that you had before, right after you left Top Flight, I feel like, or was that going to coach college again?
No, that was because I coached with y'all the whole time I was in the Bay, then left for Irvine for 2 years, and then came back and worked with you again for a little bit before we came out to Colorado.
Gotcha. That's what happened. Okay.
Yeah.
So talk about your experience coaching, Division II and Division I college basketball on the women's side.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would try to convey to people that I think haven't kind of touched all the levels, I guess. I think everybody wants to keep moving up. If you coach in high school, you want to go to junior college. If you coach in junior college, you want to move to D2 or D3 or NAI or something like that. And if you're coaching at that level, you want to go to D1. And you can't really have a full perspective of what those levels are like until you've been at them, I think. I started in junior high, coached college or coached high school, jumped to Division II. We went to the Final Four in Division II, jumped to Division I. And the biggest thing I think I learned when I finally got there was that a lot of times the talent isn't very different. You kind of have to just be a certain size level to be Division I as a separator from Division II. There's a lot of guys that are just as talented, a lot of girls that are just as talented as Division II. They're just not the same size. Maybe not as much on the women's side because if you're talented enough, you can make that jump. But there's a lot of guys Division II that just aren't the right size. Um, and it's just different. Like if I ever got back in to make coaching my profession, Division 2 was the level that I really enjoyed. And I think that's because those are the players that I related to the most. They have a chip on their shoulder. They're gonna go hard all the time. Like it, Division 1, you get. I'm not saying this across the board, but you get a lot of people that they've played basketball their whole life because they've been good at it, not necessarily because they love it, and maybe because their parents have been pressuring them. And we got a lot of players that would come in as freshmen, and that was their first time kind of out from the pressure of their parents pushing them to do everything. And you could tell that they fell out of love with it real quick. Um, and so, a lot of that goes into recruiting too, and that's totally changed with NIL. Like, it's a different game right now, and I don't envy my friends that are still in it. But yeah, I think that's the biggest perspective is really don't just chase the next step. Really think about the level that you want to be at. Like I said, I've done every level, and one of my fondest moments is 8th grade. So, if you're in love with it, uh, it's the connections, and it's just using basketball as a medium to connect with people. That's what's most powerful about it. That's what's kept me close to the game all these years.
Yeah, I agree with that. And somebody asked me yesterday, actually last night, what do you like most about your job? And I said, honestly, it's not work because I really enjoy it. So coaching and teaching and running businesses and things like that, it's not really work. It's enjoyable, and that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be difficult times when you do it, because there's difficult times no matter what. I mean, you could think of, if you've ever won a championship, it was never like super easy for anybody to do that. If you've ever made a big sale in a business, or if you've ever um, if you're an artist and you finally create this work of art, it was not like it was easy. It was very difficult to be able to do what you did, but you have to find like some solace in the fact that I really enjoy this. I love this process that I'm going to do every single day, no matter what. And nobody can take that from me. They can't take my joy. Like, we watched a video today. Caitlin Clark was talking. I try to show our team a video almost every single day, but like, she's been going a lot more viral because she's going to be one of the first players to ever, 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 ever. This is crazy, to have 3,500 points, 1,000 assists, and 1,000 rebounds.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. She might even get to 4,000 because she's just under 3,500 right now. So if she finishes out the season as well as gets, I think she's like 700 points away. But for her, that's actually not that hard, because if she's getting 30 a game, how long does it take? Like, in 3 games, she got 100.
Yeah.
She got 33. She got 3 games. She got 100. So like finding that joy in the hard moments, in the good moments, that's really what matters. And I think the people that have chased the level, they don't really understand that, because they're only chasing this carrot that is never ever going. Because if you go to, let's say you go Division 1, let's say you go to San Jose State, well, a lot of those San Jose State players are looking to try to go to Stanford or Cal, and the people that are at Stanford or Cal, they might want to go to Duke or North Carolina, and the people at Duke or North Carolina may want to go to the next, which is obviously the NBA. But it's really difficult to be in those positions, and those positions are only for the very, very select few. Yep. And people don't really realize all of that. But finding your passion in the monotony of the day to day and enjoying that. And so I love the day to day of everything, everything. Some days you hate it, but overall you gotta remember why you started.
Yeah. And I think that's everything. I've usually worked with friends in coaching and business, and when I came out to Colorado, didn't have any connections out here. Was just looking for a job, and fell into Guild, and got in at the ground level, despite having a ton of experience, but I don't have that resume that's linear, and fell into a role, and then was able to promote and started managing a team there. And the reason I bring it up is the crossover between the best coaches are really culture builders. Your knowledge of X's and O's is really third, fourth, fifth down the list. If you could build a good culture, you don't have to be right in your play calling, or I mean, you can get a lot of things wrong if your kids are going to go hard for you. And I found that was the same in business. I was fortunate to be able to kind of handpick a team and build that out, and I got it to 12, which is ironically enough about the same size as a basketball team. Um, and we crushed everybody else in the department. Like it was, and it wasn't because I was the most knowledgeable about the job. I had done it, same as basketball, and I treated my people with respect, and I built a culture where they wanted to be elite, even in what's essentially a call center. Um, so it's just translatable to anything, that skill set. And that's, my friends that have just been coaches and are so worried about what they would do if they got out. If you've had any level of success in coaching basketball at any level for an extended period of time, you're going to be successful jumping out into anything, because it's just, you do a little bit of everything as a coach.
Yeah.
And all those skills translate.
And it's essentially leadership, because there's more people that want and need to be led than there are leaders. And that's why leaders are always in high demand. They are always the higher paid. They are always in demand because of the leadership qualities. And then you can think about the lack of leadership as well. How many people are actually lacking in their leadership and not able to run an organization, run a program, or even like run a family because their leadership skills are lacking. And I think that is something that, we as basketball coaches or former athletes, we have that quality, and you have to be confident. The same work that you put in to become a basketball coach is not the same like work. Oh, I have to learn. I got to learn how to beat this 3-2 zone or whatever the case may be. No, it's whatever that business entails. That's what you need to do. So you need to learn that business inside and out. And then you need to learn your people inside and out. Just like as coaches, we got to learn the X's and O's first. Then we got to learn how to deal with people and how to put them and place them in positions that's going to make them successful. And it doesn't mean that those positions that we put them in are going to be the ones they want. It's just the ones that are most needed for us as a team to be successful. And probably the same thing with you and your staff of 12. Some people might not want to do this at this time, but for the whole organization, it's going to make us much more stronger, because that's your strong suit. If you ask me to be super detailed about something that I'm really not great at, I'm probably going to lack in it. And if I lack in it, the whole group is going to lack in it. But if you give me a specific task, a specific role, and I'm able to execute on that, then that is putting somebody in a right position to succeed. And then, you've heard this too. There's two things. Either you aren't capable of doing it, or you just don't want to. Or three, you don't know how, and now I'm going to teach you how, and then you're now hopefully capable to do it. So.
Yep. Yeah. And if you've done the work, you got a good team, and people are bought in, it's taking that responsibility. Like if my team's not performing and I know they're capable and I know they're competent, the problem's probably me. Like I got to get out of the way, or I got to add some more support somewhere. So yeah, I think that level of responsibility, and honestly, I think that's the scariest thing, why most people don't get into leadership or are not successful when they get there, is because until you've been in that situation, you're always pointing the finger up.
Right.
And when there's nowhere else to point, you got to take responsibility. You got to take some hard looks in the mirror. And that's, I think for people like me and you, that's what we love about it, because there's growth in those moments, where you got to sit down and be like, I messed up, or I got to figure out a solution, or I got to, and until you've been in leadership roles where other people are responsible for you, or you're responsible for the actions of other people, I think a lot of people don't ever get there.
Yeah, for sure. And specifically as coaches as well, we got to stand in the suck a lot of the times, especially because now you're dependent on other people, whether you're coaching 8th graders, 14 years old, you're coaching high school between 14 and 18 years old, you're coaching college between 18 and 24 years old, or you're coaching pros, 24 to 35, or LeBron's case, 39 years old. You are coaching like people, but you're dependent on people. In most every other avenue, you can be dependent on yourself, and especially when you play a sport. First of all, even individual sports have people that help them, coaches, personnel that are going to try to help them one way or the other. But in basketball, when you have all these people that you are coaching, like it's easy for one person to let it down, and you have to stand with them when those things get difficult, and then you got to be the one to stand in the suck when it feels like, man, we should have won this game, the team lost, and you feel like everybody's looking at you. First of all, as coaches, like nobody's really looking at you like that. It's just a basketball game, and they're gonna say whatever they're gonna say one way or the other, and we just got to be able to move on. But like you said, you got to find solutions in all these situations. If we can find solutions, because a lot of people got problems, a lot of people got issues, but what are you doing to solve that? Okay, well, we can't defend right now. Well, how do we solve that? And the simplest way is like keep your body in front of the basketball. Can we do that? Can we do that on a consistent basis? Now, when they start moving, okay, here's how you have to do that to keep that advantage and that leverage. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up a good point. Is the interpersonal dynamic of teams, like that's what takes you down more than, you got to be at a certain level skill wise, but it's how the team plays with each other, for each other, all that. That's what takes you to the next level. And my friends that are still in coaching, when we're having conversations, uh, it's never like, hey, these guys are playing a tricky 3-2 next week. What would you do about that? That's never a conversation. It's like, man, this is what we got going on the team right now. We got these two groups fighting. Like, yeah, like that's coaching at every level. That doesn't go away as it goes up. Like, you just have to get better at mitigating that and building a culture where, ideally you get to the point where your players can hold each other accountable and you're not in the mess every time. But yeah, I mean, embracing the suck, like there's a lot of ups and downs, and I'll be honest, I think part of what I found after coaching for a while, and I think part of the attraction for coming to coaching club was because this measurement kind of changed a little bit. But coaching at the college level a lot was like wins just kind of felt like you could breathe for 24 or 48 hours, and the losses, man, they would wreck me until we got a win. Like I'd be in a foul mood for a week.
No
Um,
doubt.
and I definitely felt that coaching club, but we could get into that. There's so many games that you have and all that. It's easier to let them go a little bit, for better or for worse. And the highs don't go as high, and the lows just get lower. It feels like kind of the longer you're in it. So the people that have been able to find success and longevity at that level, I got a lot of respect for them because they figured out how to handle that better than I could.
Yeah, and even the best coaches, they've had a lot of heartbreak over
Yeah. Oh yeah.
their time. It's really difficult to win. And just think about the coaches that we hold in such high acclaim. Coach Calipari won championship. He's been there a couple times. Bill Self, I think now he has 3, but prior to that, he only had 2. And then Michigan State, Tom Izzo, he only has 1 championship. He's still one of the best coaches ever. Tara
Yep.
Vonderveer, she only has 3. She only has 3.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. As good as a coach as she is. And then most people don't have any. Mark Few, the winningest coach in college basketball history, wins 80% of his games. He doesn't have any. Now he could have had
Yeah.
one. Villanova walked either North Carolina or Villanova hit that game winner on him, but or on the Zags, but he hasn't won it. It's just it is agonizing. And
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've tried to do is try to let that thing go because it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. You lost a basketball game, and I know you lost your father as well. I lost my mom, but once that happened, I started to think about more things that were important. Yes, was this game important because we put a lot of energy, time, and effort into it? Yes. But at the end of the day, it was a basketball game. It's not as serious as we actually, and it's the hard part is like tonight, I got a game. I'm gonna be on the sideline coaching my rear end off, trying to get us an opportunity to win. And you're talking to the officials and all that. So it's just like when you get in it, like you're in it. But as soon as that game is over, I've been trying to like decompress. I'll stay in the office like an hour after the game if it's a tough game. And then once I get out of there, I'm done with it. I got to move on. Sometimes I watch the film right away, but you got to move on. It's really not that serious because you can look back and say, how many hours did I waste as a coach thinking about this game that really didn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things? And you have coached hundreds of games at multiple different levels. None of them were a life and death situation. Some of them were fun. Others were not. And others you just don't remember. I don't even remember playing that team.
Yep.
But most of the time we only think about the losses. It's rare that we think about the wins. And I think that's one thing that we need to do a better job as individuals, as coaches. Is like, look, we need to chill out and move on quickly. We're telling our players next play, well, we need to move on too. Because as soon as that night is over, we got to get to the next thing and find a solution the next day.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's we both kind of came up in the era, and I think it's changed a little bit. That there's a little bit more balance for people that are coaching now, but that's a big piece, is that tool, is being able to deal with it. And for me, once I had my daughter, like I couldn't bring that home anymore. Like that's somebody I need to show up for every day. And so it would be interesting if I were still coaching college, how that would look, and how I would have changed how I dealt with those things. But I don't know. That was part of the only reason I wasn't athletic. The only reason I was ever any good at basketball is because I was competitive. And it's not that you can't be competitive if it doesn't eat you up all day, but you get better as you gain more perspective as you get older. And I think that's why a lot of the most successful coaches have so much experience. It's exactly that. You don't ride the roller coaster as much anymore. You can put everything where it should be.
One of the reasons why you were a capable basketball player is because you used to punch people in their kidneys.
Don't give away my trade secrets, man. That works on and off the basketball
on and off the court. On and off the court. What were some of your good moments that were off the court? Because as basketball coaches, one of the reasons why I continue to coach basketball is because it gives me an excuse to hang out with my friends on the road, hanging out in hotels and different venues, going out to dinner, hanging out. So that to me is the coach hang that I really enjoy, and the camaraderie. And then we talk good or bad about our teams depending on how the play went. So talk to me about the off the court stuff with the coaches, because I think that is just as important as being on the court and liking the people that you're doing it with.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think it's nothing brings, like our days at Campbell Rec, man, nothing brings people together closer than shared suffering. And that's, in some level, that's every basketball coach is a cynic in some way. Like you don't sit down for dinner with somebody and start talking about how great your team's doing. You're talking about some idiot who can't figure out the most simple play or whatever. Like it's always that. And so, I mean, the thing I miss most, there's three things that I miss most about coaching. When I kind of boil it all down, one is it's the games, like suiting up on a Friday night and putting your work out there for a crowd against another team that's been spending all week trying to beat you. Like you don't replicate that anywhere else. Like that's special. Like that just gets the juices flowing in a different way. And then the relationship with your players, like again, basketball is just kind of a medium for connection, but there's something different about it. Like just all being in the same boat, pulling the same way. Like again, it's just really hard to create. And then what you just mentioned, just the being on the road recruiting. Like back when I started, I took 17 flights in 14 days, just on the road recruiting in July. And you're just kind of bouncing into different friends and different small towns, sitting in gyms all day till your butt hurts. Like, and it's fun. It's miserable, but it's fun. That's definitely a piece that I miss. Because again, it's just the relationships and that connection.
Yep, and all three of those outside of the game day on the sideline, the two of the three are relationship based, and that's what a lot of this stuff comes down to, is being in relationship with people, spending time with people that have a shared interest or a shared goal, and then reminiscing about those things that may come into place later on. I'm sure you have some of your old TFE kids who are now grown adults that still reach out to you. Probably Nick Grassman comes to mind, and you started with him when he was in fourth or fifth grade, and
Yeah.
now he is either graduating or graduated college from Gonzaga.
Yep.
Which is pretty crazy. And he, had a good high school basketball career, one of the most skilled kids. He would just happen to, not be that tall, but that's a kid that if he was 6'5", everybody would know who he is. He would have been a high major type of player because he was that skilled as a young kid. I even look back at some of those videos that he would do. It was incredible, at age 10, 11, what he could do with the ball. And, he didn't get that much taller. And that was really, like you said earlier, I think, it's just a tall person sport, and you can find people that are way more skilled. But if somebody's 6'9" and somebody's 5'10", you're going to take the 5 foot, never take the 5'10" guy. Like, as much as I love Steph Curry, if it really came down to it, and you said you're taking Steph or Durant, you got one game, I might still probably take Steph just because I love his game and I love what he stands for. But I would say the majority of people about to take KD. Or if it was between Steph and Bron, I'm definitely taking Bron, probably. Like, just being honest, as a basketball person, I'm probably taking Bron. Even though Steph head-to-head has won in those games, you probably, like, your mind can't get around, I'm not taking this dude because of the way that he can control the game in so many other ways.
Yep. Yeah. It was the first thing when we jumped to Pacific for my first D1 job. That was the first thing I wanted to do, was get in and watch some of the guys' practices too. See how they coach, but see the players. And that was really what stood out to me the most. Was like, wow, these guys aren't next level from what I just saw the last 5 years at Chico on the men's team. But they're bigger at every position. They're more athletic at every position. And yeah, and then that obviously raises the ceiling when you pair skill with that athleticism. By year 4, they're usually a better player all around, but not always. And that's definitely what affects recruiting the most.
Yeah, for sure. As Jordan would say, the ceiling is the roof.
Yeah.
So did you prefer coaching men or women, or it didn't really matter for you?
Good question. I think I preferred coaching women, um, only for this, and I hope I don't get myself in trouble with this, but I think guys, especially by the time they've hit college, they all think they're going pro. I don't care where, NAIA, D3, D2, like they all think they're going next level. Somebody just passed them over or whatever. And so I feel like to coach at that level, kind of your first step is breaking them down and then building them back up. Um, and women, this is a whole nother discussion because I wish this wasn't how it is, but again, and I'm speaking generally, but I think women are less confident in their ability when they come in, and so from the start, you're just building them up, and that suits my coaching style better.
Right.
I'm not. I coached under like some hard ass coaches, um, and I don't think that's how you get the best out of your players. I think I found that coaching on the women's side, and then I was happy when I came back and was coaching for Top Play that I was able to take that style to the men's side and was met with a lot of success. I wasn't I had a high standard, but I'm not going to be barking at you on the side. I'm gonna get to know you outside of practice. Like I really think it's the quote we've all heard, but nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. I think that sums up good coaches. You have
Right.
to care. It doesn't mean you got to be best friends. I didn't like everybody I ever coached, but I cared about them as people. And I think everybody that's ever played under me knows that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, One of the things that I think about when it comes to men and women is men need to battle, and then the bonding comes. Because if I battle you and I know you're a dog and I'm a dog, well, I got a lot more respect for you because we bumped and I didn't back down, you didn't back down. Whether I got the best of you, you got the best of me, didn't really matter. But I know if it comes down to it, you can get to it, and so can I. And so
Hmm.
you battle first and then you bond. For women, I think it's on the other side where you have to bond first and then you battle together. And that bonding piece is very key in coaching boys high school for the first part of my coaching career, and now coaching women for the second half of my career. You would think that I'm a completely different coach, and I'm still the same person, but the way I approach things are a lot different. And the bonding part is very important. Like you said, talk to them, before or after practice, get to know them and them get to know you. If you have a family, bring them around your family. Let them see you with your kids. I bring my kids around all the time because they need to see what a real dad looks like, a real good marriage looks like, because they may or may not have that at home. They may or may not have had that sort of support system at home, and they need to see that their coach cares about them outside of just the game of basketball, because most of them aren't going to be playing Division I. Some of them will be playing Division I. Some of them will be playing in college. But as far as the high school goes, a lot of them, their last game is going to be their senior year, whenever the playoffs end. And so when you look at that, me as a coach, I was only concerned about winning, probably like the first 2-3 years. But now it has morphed to experience. If you have a good experience in our program, then I've done my job. If we've taught you life lessons through the use of basketball, then I have done my job, or we as a staff have done our job. If we win, that's just a byproduct of the work that we put in and the talent that we had to go with it, because everybody's working hard. All the coaches are probably putting in the same amount. Well, I can speak for our league. We're probably all putting in the same amount of time. And if you're putting in more, maybe you don't have a family or something like that. But I would say all the coaches are probably doing around the same amount of work for each one of these games. So if that is the case, we are still going to try to win every single opportunity that we have. But at the same time, it's about the experience and, yelling at them and screaming at them. Now, there's times that happens, no doubt. But that may be 5% of the time. The other 95 are trying to cultivate these relationships to make sure that they understand where they're at. And that doesn't mean you can be soft at all, because that's not soft. It's actually more of a power move to be able to look at something different, because it's been done a certain way for so many years. And now you're not going to be able to get to these kids the same way. So we can't have the same coaching that maybe we grew up with, or that our coaches grew up with. We have to change. We can't say, oh, these kids these days. No, we have to be the change. It's nobody else. It's us, because the kids aren't changing and the technology isn't changing. It's actually getting, crazier with all the stuff that they have now.
Yep. Yeah. And it's a good thing. Like, when I think back to the hard coaches that we had growing up when you're younger, like, sure, that was good. That taught me certain things, but they could have delivered it in a different way. Like, it taught me, like, I could hear screaming and yelling and filter that out and just take the message, but I could have gotten the message if they just talked to me too. Like, I had to adapt to do that because that was their style. Doesn't mean that was the best way. So,
and how many of them do you F with right still to this day?
None. Don't talk to any of those coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't think they cared about me. Like, yeah.
Right. And they may not have, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, they may not have.
Yeah.
But that was but it wasn't a different time, and I don't fault them for that either.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, I think we have improved coaching across the board. I think you see less and less of those at the college ranks too, like the yellers and the screamers on the side. Yeah, I think it's evolved for the right direction.
I mean, a little bit. I've been to a few coaches.
It's true. That's true.
Because that's the difference, and that's why I don't, have any aspirations to coach in college. One, because it's such a late start. If you were to start coaching at college right now, at my age, it's a long process to get to where you want to get to. But every single one of those games, there's just way more stress because your job is dependent on it. At the high school level, your job isn't depending on winning. Your job is dependent on molding these kids and, helping them through this high school process. And if the wins come along with it, it's great. But, if you lose a game, it's not like, oh, I gotta worry about my job.
Yeah. Yep. And that's, you touched on it earlier. It's a stressful job just by the nature of it, and that your resume is out there for everybody to see. So you're also dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds like that. That is what you have to work with every day. That's not the most stable population group, like
Yeah.
men or women. Like things change on a dime. Like somebody goes
Yeah.
out on a Saturday night, you just lost your best player. Like that can just happen every day. So
Right.
yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. That's the crazy part about it too. You're so reliant on so many other people. And when you think about, all right, if let's just say we were working out, let's just say we were both out of shape. We're not, because we work out all the time, but let's just say we were out of shape and you worked out every single day for a whole year. You ate right, you ate clean, you had enough protein in your diet, you took the right supplements for your body, and you worked out every single day. And let's just say you were 250 pounds at the time. You're going to see small results over time. But the thing with a basketball coach is you're not really guaranteed that anything is given, no matter how much work you put in. And that's the difficult part. And I think that's one of the reasons why coaches internalize all these games, is because I have put so much time, energy, and effort to watching this film, putting this scouting report together, getting our team prepared, going over everything that can potentially happen in this game or the things that might not even happen in this game. And really, does it all really matter that we've done all this stuff if the other team is just way better? No, it doesn't. But you still have to do that because you have to give yourself the best chance. And that's the hard part about it, because you can't really quantify the amount of time that you spend doing this. And so when you lose something, when you lose a game, that's really difficult. And that's why we have, my theory is that's why we put so much pressure undue to our circumstance based on all the amount of time that you put in.
Yeah. That's our nature. Again, that's why I think anybody that's coached and seen any level of success, you can go into a number of other areas and be successful. I mean, knock on wood, we'll see how this business goes over the next couple months, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but we are that way. Like when you're coaching, you came up as a player, like you're always scrapping for that edge, and you're willing to put in the extra time to get there. And that eventually that leads to success. Doesn't mean you're not going to have some failures, but it does. And I think there's a level of self-respect that we have, like, the discipline that we have at this age when it's hard to just get out of bed to go and work out every day. Like, just to look yourself in the mirror and feel good about who you're seeing every day, there's a certain level of effort that you got to put in.
Yeah. And then, dang, I forgot what I was going to say, because I was listening to you. So that's the one thing about the podcast is, like, when you're talking, you're trying to listen, but then there's things that you want to, like, piggyback on, but you don't want to cut the other person off. So now, so you decided to get out of coaching and then move to Colorado. What sparked that move? And then tell everybody what you're doing now, because you are starting a new business.
Yeah. Yeah, we moved when I got out of coaching at Irvine. We moved back up to the Bay. My dad's health was failing, so luckily I've got an amazing wife. Like, she didn't hesitate at all to jump up. We were living in a 600 square foot kind of studio outside of my parents' house with a 1 year old. I don't even know if she was one when we moved back up there, and helping take care of my dad. And as soon as he passed, we just kind of wanted to do something different, get out of California. Um, Washington made a lot more sense. One of my best friends was up there at the time. I'd had family up there my whole life. And I had an old college buddy that was out in Colorado. We came out to visit. Colorado just gets more sunshine than Washington, man. I can't handle that gray weather. I'm solar powered, so we made the jump, came out here. Um, yeah, was fortunate to find a good job out here that with just some amazing people, similar to coaching. Like, just didn't feel like work for the first 4 years, and then They made some leadership changes, and I didn't have any respect for the person who came in, and that turned real quick into something that was stressing me out. And I was just kind of at the age and point in my career where I was like, I don't really need to deal with this. I can go figure out something else. Again, my wife was all on board and said, yeah, go ahead and quit. I did. About 4 weeks later, that whole department got vaporized because everything I've been trying to say about that leader, they were now gone. And so everybody got a little payout and I did not. So I don't know, word of advice, maybe hang on if you can, but I don't regret the decision at this time. Uh,
Oh
and
my
just started
goodness.
looking for what was next. And started looking. I had a franchise broker that kind of reached out to me based on my history, and started chatting with them, and probably looked at 30 or 40 different franchises. And this one Zivel that I'm going with does performance recovery, so it's cryotherapy, cryoscan, saunas, dry float beds. Yeah, and compression and oxygen. And, that's all stuff that I've been familiar with in my time in coaching. And talked with the guy who started it up. He'd been a physical therapist for 20 years and just really wanted to figure out a way to help more people than one on one. And just kind of went off on a tangent, looking up how we could kind of build out places and build this franchise that could just help more people feel good, get healthy, and obviously that aligned with my values. And so yeah, hopefully in April we'll be about the 10th that opens in the nation, and they're looking to open 20 or 30 more this next year alone. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But uh,
Let me get the licensing agreement for South Bay Area.
yeah, he already said he's not doing anything in California unless somebody wants to buy the rights to all of California, just because of the legislation out there, how hard it is on businesses. So,
Oh, really?
uh, but we'll see. We'll see if that changes.
Yeah. So is it an infrared sauna or
Yep. Yeah. Infrared
so what's the
sauna.
major differences between like this naturally heated sauna versus infrared? Are there any differences? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, supposedly, at least the studies show that better for your skin, stimulates kind of the cardiovascular health a little bit more than your regular sauna. So you're not just forcing like sweat. We all grew up thinking, right? I go sit in the sauna, I get a good sweat, and that's how I get everything out. What we're finding is that like the actual sweat, you're not really releasing a lot of toxins that way. That's not how your body gets rid of it. So you're just kind of dehydrating. Um, it's about 2% of what you might pass otherwise comes out when you're sweating that way. So the infrared sauna, you're still going to get a sweat, but it kind of heats you up inside, gets your blood flowing a lot better on the inside, helps you pass those toxins a lot easier. Good for your skin, hair, stress, all that stuff.
But the not regular sauna is not bad for you. It's just the infrared
No.
sauna may have some other benefits too, because
Yep.
there was some like a lot of studies that talk about like in not maybe Norway or Sweden or something like that, and these people that have is well. Listen, I'm not a scientist or anything like that, but the premise is the people that did these saunas lived a lot longer and a much more fulfilled, healthier lifestyle when they did it. And so I started doing the sauna.
Yep.
We just signed up for the Courtside Club in Los Gatos. So
Yeah.
I do that at least 3 times a week, if not
Yep.
4, if I can. And once the season ends, I might probably be doing it every day. And
Yeah.
then I looked at getting Amanda. She works for the infrared sauna spot, Delgado,
Yep.
who you hooked me up with to do my social media back in the day.
Yep.
So she works at one of those places. So I looked at trying to get one of those for the house, but $5,000 for an infrared sauna. Like, do we really need it? I don't know.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I did get a cold tub, but I haven't put it up yet because it's like super rainy here.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I'm gonna do that this spring. So, but like, what's the difference between the cold tub and the cryotherapy too?
So that's the thing I'm most excited about, and I've only done it once when I went out to the shop in Utah, and it's just, I mean, the number one thing, and I think the science, the reports say that you're getting all the benefits, if not more, from just walking into the cryo chamber. You only got to do about 2.5, 3 minutes because you're getting your skin temp down. Same thing, a lot of reduced inflammation is the main one, but reduced stress, you're kind of firing up all your internal organ as the blood comes through. So you're pumping a lot more oxygen out to your body once you come out of that. They're seeing that the benefits last for about 24 hours afterwards. So a lot of the same stuff as jumping in an ice bath. Honestly, the biggest thing is you don't have to get in an ice bath. Like
Right.
it's a path to those benefits without sitting in some cold water.
Right. I
But
can't
the other,
stand that. Oh,
oh
I can't
man,
stand cold water.
and I do think that we had conversations about this when I was in training because I think there's a big piece to just the mental toughness of jumping in that tub.
Yeah.
Um, but physiologically, you're getting all the same benefits for going into this thing. The big thing for like athletes is that maybe you're doing 2-a-days or you're lifting in the morning, you're doing practice in the afternoon or something. You don't want to do a lift or a practice and jump into an ice tub. You're pretty much done for the day because you've contracted everything in your body, right? You've cooled down your blood going through. Cryo, you could jump in and get the benefits for helping your muscles recover, reducing inflammation, and in another 45 minutes, you can go play ball or go work out or whatever you need to. So a little
Uh,
more efficient.
How often should somebody do the cryotherapy or the heat shock therapy?
Yeah, I mean, daily, really. Like, there's no negative effects from jumping in more often. Obviously with the sauna, you got to make sure that you're staying hydrated. But yeah, with cryo, you could go in there twice a day, every day if you wanted.
And then have you heard of the red light therapy too?
Yeah, that's one I don't know a ton about. I know the person that started Zivel is looking at possibly adding that. I think it's something we talked about early on when before we'd even signed on. And in his opinion, there wasn't enough science enough about it. He kind of thought it was a fad, and I think he's kind of changing his mindset on that. So we'll see where it goes over the next couple months. But I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I heard it tightens up your skin and things like that. Kind of rejuvenates all the skin tissue and stuff like that. But again,
Yeah.
this is stuff that I hear third party on these podcasts or things
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
That you just start to think they're facts, but everybody's body works different, so you have to find
Yep.
out what works for you. So I
Exactly.
might actually look to find a cryo place here because it sounds like your company's not coming to California at all. Well, I mean, why would you when you look at the way the restrictions were for businesses during COVID, and if there was
Yeah.
a situation like that again, hopefully people wouldn't act so hastily, or they thought they were doing the right thing, but when it was clear that
Yep.
it wasn't the right thing, we have to try to get back to real business pretty quickly,
Yep.
and obviously people died and things like that. A lot of people did, and a lot of people got it, but at the same time, it wasn't it wasn't the majority of the people. It was less than 1%, and so to take away, and I see it now because we do these interviews for school for the incoming ninth graders, and some of them are on top of it, but a lot of them really aren't. They're not really equipped to have a face-to-face conversation with an adult
Yep.
because their whole sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, year, or actually when they were fifth graders. Yeah, they were fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade. Now they're in eighth grade, getting ready to go to high school. So those are really prime years that
Yep.
they missed out on their different activities, as well as just interpersonal relationships and things like that. So yeah, a lot of these kids are behind with all that.
Yep. Yeah. I think it's going to be a long time before we fully understand the negative impacts of COVID and that shutdown and what it did. Just my wife's a nurse and just the mental health side of things that they were seeing with people and that we continue to see now. I think, yeah, I mean, it's our focus that we've talked about for most of this podcast is what drives us and fills us up is human connection. And that's as humans, that's what we're supposed to do. It's what we're meant to do. And when you take that away, I think a lot of people lose their balance.
For sure. And so you're going to start with one location to start, and remind me the name of it.
Yeah, Zivel, Zivel.
Gotcha. And you guys will be in the greater the Colorado area. Which how
Yeah,
many
we're
locations do you
just
guys have?
We're just south of Denver. We're going to start with one, and hopefully, if I can get in the black in the first 4 to 6 months, we'll start looking at a second one. There's another couple that's opening one in Highlands Ranch, which is near us, and they've already bought a second location. So we're the only ones in Colorado right now, and hoping we can spread it and help people out across the state.
And how do you go about marketing something like this, which is probably novel to the community?
Yeah, a lot of it is Instagram, Facebook, social media. We'll do a little bit of Google ads, but I'm opening up right next to a Fierce 45 gym, and I'm in kind of a residential area, and I'm hoping that most of my marketing takes place just word of mouth. And the beautiful thing about it is that everything is running machines. There's not a lot of overhead with staffing or anything like that. So as I'm getting going, I can just give services away, and that's the plan. Just get people in, check it out, and let the results speak for themselves. People are finding that it helps them out. They'll come back.
Right. So what should I be doing right now? Because my body is always sore every day.
Oh man,
it's like sore every day. I mean, it's funny because well, I have this but Maddie and I both put a hot pack on our back every night, and mine like has these straps that wraps around my neck. And then it goes the length of my back, and we just sit up there, and she starts laughing at me when she's brushing her teeth the other night. I was like, what's your night routine looking like?
Man, you thought what are you? How old are you right now?
41.
Yeah, okay. We close. I knew you were close. I was probably in the last year or two where I feel like I've really started to feel it. Like I get up out of bed and it's hard stumbling towards the bathroom in the middle of the night, man. My ankles don't work right. Like everything's got to get warmed up. So I'm helping. The cryo helps me a lot for that. But the main thing is just stay after it, man. Keep moving. It doesn't get any easier. Like I still play ball every Sunday. I'm on the Peloton a couple times a week. I'm on Tonal a couple times a week. And what I think I've been most intentional about over the last 2 years is really adding stretching in. Like I try not to do a workout unless I follow it up with some stretching. I try to do some stretching at night if I'm starting to feel tight before I go to bed. And like, that's what seems to help the most. But it's also kind of a double-edged sword because I feel like then if I go 2-3 days without stretching, I feel worse than I ever have in my life. So I don't know. You just got to keep after it, I guess.
Yeah.
Keep moving. My coach at Chico, Mad Dog Matic, I mean, that dude would sleep like 4 hours a night, sleep on the couch, eat pizza, but his whole thing was just break a sweat every day. And I try to. That's the best thing for my mood. It's the best thing for my body. I'm built to keep moving because, man, if I sit down and take a week off, like everything hurts even more.
Yeah, every day I do something. I don't really try to take days off. Even if I take a day off, it's like a long walk or something like that where you might not be stressed on your body. So work it, everybody. Follow all the great things that you're doing, and whenever you come back to California, we'll have to have you in the studio.
Absolutely. I look forward to it, my man. I love seeing the Creative Mind sweatshirt too. I know you've been working on that.
Yeah, it's coming soon. Probably drop after the season sometime in April. So you'll be seeing me rocking the new merch out. Creative Minds brand coming soon to everybody. But why don't you tell everybody where they can follow you and everything like that?
Yeah, right now we don't even have our social media up. We're looking for an April 2nd start date, but search Zivel on Instagram if you want to start finding out what it's about. So there's about 10 locations open. Arkansas, Tennessee, Florida has one. Colorado should open in the next 2 months. Zivel.com, Zivel. We're the Cherry Hills location when we do open, and that's already on the website. So check them out.
That's dope. Stay on after the outro, but you want to know what is really great?
Of course I do.
This outro.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond the Buckets podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and share the show with your friends. And until next time, take care.